once again, folks, welcome to Doctor on Call, and this evening we are discussing men's health. Earlier I did inform all the men out there to be sure and to tune in this evening, because we're talking to the men. Of course, we're talking to the ladies as well, because wives and partners, they do have a responsibility to seek some interest in the health of our gentlemen. That's very, very important. And tonight with us, Dr. Devon Francis. He's no stranger to our program, and we're talking men's health, as I said. Dr. Francis, good evening and welcome. It's been a while.
Good evening to you, Godfrey, and to all the listeners out there.
Yes, indeed. So this evening we're discussing men's health. In fact, I've been trying to get that topic done since the month of June, because the month of June is usually Men's Health Awareness Month. But nevertheless, our health is always important, and there is no specific time to address issues pertaining to that. So we start, Doc. Let me get from you initially the importance of men's health. Why is men's health so important?
Right. Men's health, in other words, what is life without health in a nutshell?
Mm-hmm.
Life, in an essence, has to do with the quality of your health. And in so doing, if we ignore the quality of our health, which not necessarily refers to the physical health, but also mental and social health.
Mm-hmm.
It refers to the entire well-being of men. So when we talk about men's health, we're not only talking about the absence of disease, we're also referring to mental and social, physical wellness.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And of course, we men folk, we do have a very important role to play in the world. Aside from assisting in procreation, we are also involved in economic activities, as you said, social activities, and a lot of other things. So our health is very, very important indeed.
Very much so.
Yes.
And if we want to take it a step further, it was ordained that men are biblically appointed to be the head of the family, which is a very important aspect.
Very good.
Ignore.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would say that there are societies who understand pretty well the importance of men in the home and the outcome of the family.
Mm-hmm.
We would have seen a society where men have been incarcerated, and what happens to the family in terms of the functionality of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that we take lightly. Bearing the socio-economic aspect of it also,
mm-hmm.
that has a very important bearing on the future of the family.
Right. And so because of that, we have to be very particular with what we do, what we say, where we go, who we associate with, what we eat, what we drink, what we don't eat and what we don't drink also, I think, is very important. All of that can hinge on how healthy we are and how healthy we can remain, because even in the process of aging, health is important, because if you don't have good health, then you won't age well, and it's not a good thing. You probably may not live, as folks say, to a ripe old age.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. So let's go now to some of the medical health issues. Of course, you're involved in your practice, and I know you see all different types of people. We're talking men. What are some of the main issues you find in your practice with men on a regular basis?
Right. Some of the main issues that it relates to men that we find is benign prostate disease. We also have things like what they commonly refer to as ED, or you also have prostate cancer. It's very common in our society, very prevalent. We have testicular cancer. We also have things like sexual problems in men and penis disease or disease of the penis, among other metabolic disease like diabetes, thyroid problems, hypertension, and very importantly, things like overweight, obesity, and so very fundamental in determining, or very important in the outcome of of men's health. And these aspects, the prevalence of disease not only affect your physical well-being, as I mentioned, but they can also lead to mental health issues in men.
So you can have a number of problems resulting from probably just starting with one, and you move on to other complications.
Very
right.
So.
Well, let's start with what you mentioned first, the benign prostate complications. And we know, of course, we're talking men here. It is something that has been talked about a lot, but again, it is also something that you cannot stop talking about. Because, as you say, you see it quite often, and from what I understand, if men do their screening early and do their regular checkups, it is something that can be dealt with at an early stage, and you can live normally.
Right. So we want to emphasize as it relates to the prostate, there are mainly two conditions that we want to bring forward. One, you have what the elderly folks used to call years ago stapita water.
Yes.
Right? That's where the prostate becomes enlarged and they have difficulty emptying the bladder. However, it's not the cancerous form. Right? And then you have the prostate cancer, which is very prevalent in our country and in our region. That it is said that 1 in every 6 male person in our region would ultimately end up with prostate cancer.
Okay.
Right? And very importantly, as we touch on the aspect of prostate cancer, it's important that men pay attention to the screening processes, as we said. Very important information is family history plays a very important role. It is said that if you have 2 family members that has prostate cancer, your chances of having prostate cancer increases by 5. And if you have 3 family members that have prostate cancer, you have a 100% chance that you would come down with prostate cancer. In other words, the family history plays such an important role in guiding the screening process and the awareness of what you are predisposed to or what you're likely to come down with. So it's very important that we not only pay detail to our own health, but our family health as it relates to prostate is very, very important.
Okay. Question. So, a young man, usually you're advised to start doing your checks when you start hitting age 40 and things like that for prostate. So a young man, age 40, comes to you to do his screening. He wants to check and make sure that he's okay, no problem. But says to you, look, my grandfather, he had that problem. My father had that problem, and my father's brother had that problem. After doing his screening, he's okay, you see no signs of it. How will you keep him that way?
Right, in a case like that, there are different guidelines as it relates to screening. In patients that are high risk, based on what you mentioned, that is considered to be a high risk patient. And those patients, you want to start the screening process from around age 40.
Right.
Right? There are patients that have lower risk factors based on the family history, and that screening process can begin anywhere from 50 to 70 years of age. Right? But those that are at greater risk factors of family have genetic predisposition or family members with prostate cancer, you'd want to do an annual screening for them.
Okay, annually. Right. Okay, great. And so, because what I want to find out, are there things you can do to keep that young man, maybe, well, we understand he's high risk, but I don't know whether there are additional factors that can probably encourage the growth of the prostate or the disease. So I'm asking, how can you, or what would you say to him, or how can you help him to keep himself, I mean, yes, knowing that he's high risk, how can you keep him, or maybe delay that as long as possible?
Right. Very interesting question, very important question. Right. In terms of when you look at other predisposing factors, besides the family history, you also have things like age, which are things that we cannot modify.
Right.
But there's also the postulation that diet can play a very important part in prostate health. Right. And we talk about the addition of things like zinc and certain vitamins. Can help in prostate health, right? So diet plays an important role also. But most of the factors are non-modifiable factors. We talk about genetic factors and age, which are two of the most potent or most powerful factors that we cannot modify, right? Then we talk about other factors like environmental factors in terms of chemicals and all those other things. These are things that we can, modify. We pay very little attention to what we eat and where we eat from in terms of pesticides and chemicals and all those other things. These are things that we definitely can have an impact on the outcome.
Right. Now we know that prostate is something that the process is more or less slow. So it takes a while before it develops probably into prostate cancer, whatever it is. That being said, if someone is you do the screening and you realize that there is some enlarging of the prostate, what sort of advice or what sort of treatment will be administered at that stage, again, to keep him going as long as possible without getting to the point where he starts having serious complications?
Right, so that's a very important question, and the factors are one of the things I want to emphasize, that there are different types of prostate cancer. There is what you call slow-growing prostate cancer, and there is aggressive prostate cancer. And the treatment for both of them would be can be different.
Okay.
In other words, the slow-growing one, you will take a watch and see sort of
approach to it, monitor it, and things like that. Yes.
Right. But the aggressive form of cancer, there are many different modalities of treatment. And the modalities of treatment depends on what stage the cancer is in, right? If you detect the cancer very early, you can do what you call resection. That's where you do a surgery and take out the area where the cancer is located. All right. In cases where the cancer is detected late, where there is spread and so, there isn't much that could be done in terms of removal and so, because once there is spread, it means that it would have gotten through the system. But there still are other things that you can do. In some cases, they use hormonal therapy. They use what you call castration. That's where they cut off the testicles, because the testosterone is like a fuel for cancer, for the growth of cancer. So there are different modalities. You have implants that can be used in the prostate to slow down the growth. They also have different chemical and radiotherapy that can also be used to treat them. And they also use some of the medications to slow down the growth of the prostate. Yeah, so there are different modalities, but very importantly, the stage of detection is important.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. You want early detection or prevention as much as possible. If there's going to be an issue with the prostate, you want to detect it as early as possible. And once there is early detection, you can have resection of the cancer in a very early stage, and which can result in living a normal lifespan if that is the case.
Right.
Right. But one of the problems with men's health is that men generally don't move early.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As the old folks would say, we wait until water more than flower.
Yes, indeed.
It's been said that 65% of men use the delay approach, the watch and see what happens approach. Mm-hmm. And that approach, more or less, is very detrimental. Because the watch and see approach means that when the back pain starts, when the blood starts in the urine, when you really can't pass the urine, that's when they tend to show up. Mm-hmm. At that stage, we pass resection, you most likely have what you call third and fourth stage of prostate cancer. And there isn't much that could be done at that stage.
At that stage, okay. You know, you mentioned something, and I know it for a fact, men tend to use that delay approach. I'm almost certain, you know, in your practice, at some point, when a gentleman comes to you with a problem, you may have asked him, but why did you wait so long before you come to see the doctor? What kind of responses do you get from them? You get very response, but one of the most common one that you'll find mm-hmm. is that I don't like doctors. Oh.
Very, very common. I don't like doctors, and it's a sort of nerve-wrecking sort of answer. Mm-hmm. Because the bottom line is, as I alluded to earlier on, men has a very important socio-economic role in society, very important role in the family, and spiritual roles in the family. You know, and it's sort of disheartening to hear the I part of it. Mm-hmm. What about the family? You know, what about the family that you are responsible for? How are they going to make it if the uncertain situation should happen? What about them? Mm-hmm. You know? So as leaders in the home and so I think that that answer about I don't like should be substituted for I like my family, so I'm going to do that or do this for them. Very important. You know? Do I want to be there to see the graduation of my son or my daughter? Mm-hmm. You know, these are some of the things that we need to substitute with the I don't like.
Right.
You know, the outcome and the family to me is of greater importance than the individual self.
Yes, indeed. Because the thing is, when you went with that approach, what you find is that instead of playing that role, you're now creating a burden for the family. You know, not only you not being able to provide that sort of economic and additional support that you should, but you now creating a burden because your family now who's at a disadvantage because of your condition, they now have to look at you, and you can't do anything about it. So additional burden.
I'm quite interested. There is no guarantee on that, meaning that from my experience in being in hospital, you may find that, you know, the ladies get more of the attention when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. The mothers get most of the attention when it comes to that. You know, so
right.
It's not a guarantee for men still.
Mm.
You know, so it's a very high risk approach. Very, very high risk approach.
So from most angles, it's definitely not a good thing to play catch up or delay with your health as a man.
Definitely, as the records will show that men live there are men, they die 5 years younger than women on average, and all of that is because of the delayed response in seeking healthcare and using more of the prevention method as opposed to the catch-up, as you would have mentioned.
Right. Okay, so Doc, we're gonna take our break, and then when we come back and we look at some of the other health conditions like cardiovascular and so on. So we take a short break, and we'll be back with you in just a moment, folks. We also open our telephone lines so our listeners can make contributions. If they have any questions that they would like to ask, they can do so. So we'll be back with you in just a moment.
More reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
Now you love Super 6
even more.
With more money to the jackpot galore.
Play more, win more,
have more fun. With more jackpot money, Super 6 is my number one.
with the new and improved Super 6 game.
jackpot keep growing and growing and growing.
More jackpot money. More reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game. Super 6. Bigger jackpots. More chances to win.
Welcome to our Super 6 draw for today, Tuesday, 13th July 2021. I am Deborah Hippolyte. Super 6 is a multi-jurisdictional game owned by Winlot Inc. and is played within the islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, Grenada, and St. Lucia. Tonight's jackpot stands at $200,000. We'll now select your free ticket letter. Good luck. Your free ticket letter is O. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back with your winning numbers.
More jackpot money. More reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
Now you love Super 6 even more. With more money,
The jackpot galore. Play more, win more, have more fun.
With more jackpot money.
Super 6 is my number one.
With the new and improved Super 6 game, the jackpot keep growing and growing.
I'm growing.
More jackpot money. More reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game. Super 6. Bigger jackpots. More chances to win.
Welcome back. Now for your winning numbers. Good luck. The first number is 8. Second number 1. Third number is 5. Fourth number 14. Fifth number is 7. And the final number is 3. Again, your Super 6 winning numbers are 8, 1, 5, 14, 7, and 3. Your free ticket letter is O. The Super 6 draw was supervised by an auditor from BDO. Please contact your relevant Central Lottery office for further information on the payment of prizes. Remember, with Super 6, there are bigger jackpots and more chances to win. Join us on Friday, 16th July 2021 for our next draw. Until next time, I'm Deborah Hippolyte, wishing a pleasant evening.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs. So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Carenage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Carenage, St. George's.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Welcome back. It's Doctor and Call. We're talking men's health. Dr. Devon Francis is with us this evening. Doc, men's health, cardiovascular conditions, I think is one of the common things in men, also because of probably behavioral patterns as well. You want to speak to that a bit?
Right. As it relates to cardiovascular function, one of the important aspects as it relates to men's health is what we call atherosclerosis. Mm-hmm. Atherosclerosis basically means that there is blockage in the blood vessels or the right, that can lead to a number of different cardiac manifestations. One, it can lead to things like heart attack, that can cause stroke, and importantly, it's an important determinant in erectile dysfunction. So cardiovascular condition can lead to erectile dysfunction because of the atherosclerosis or the blockage in the blood vessels where there is not enough blood flow going to the genitals and so. So there is different spin-off from that, because men at that point with erectile dysfunction can then start experiencing mental health issues, depression and all these other things, aggression and all of that can come in with. So not only the cardiovascular aspect, but the psychosocial aspect of the disease can also affect men directly. Yeah. So mainly you're more likely to find things like as a result of atherosclerosis or the buildup of cholesterol plaque in the blood vessels, predisposing factors for things like heart attack, stroke, and other complications from circulation and so, peripheral vascular disease, and so all of that are predisposing factors for atherosclerosis.
Right. Doc, would you say that cardiovascular conditions are more common in men than women?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say. A lot of it has to do with one, family history, lifestyle. In a sense, we may find that it's probably more detected in women because they show up more often.
Okay.
Right? But men are more likely to suffer more severe complications from those diseases because of the delayed response and the lack of seeking medical attention in terms of prevention and so. Right? So in terms of statistics, you may find that yes, it may seem that women might have greater prevalence, and that could be because the fact that they show up, the numbers could be influenced by that. But in terms of severity and complications, you may find that men are the one who most likely might suffer from those complications because of the delayed response in seeking medical attention.
Right, and the chances of dying, well, of course, is more because of that same approach. So men, so far you're noticing that there are a lot of reasons why you should not play Mr. Macho and not go to see Dr. Francis. You need to do that. We don't want to take any chances, because we have a lot to take care of. Cardiovascular disease, I mean, it's broad, and I mean, there's a lot more we can talk about and go into all of the details. But I just want to, touch a few of them as we just discussing this year of men's health. And you mentioned early something I wanted to bring up a little later on, the issue of erectile dysfunction. And the reason being, again, you said it, resulting in things like depression and mental issues. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Aside from the cardiovascular diseases and atherosclerosis that can result in that, what are some of the other issues that can cause erectile dysfunction in men?
Right. We have other causes such as neurological disorder. And when we talk about neurological disorder, we're talking about things like multiple sclerosis, right? Disease of the nerve. We also have psychological state, right? And the psychological state refers to things like depression. And we also talk about anxiety performance and so. We can also talk about trauma, right? People that would have had some sort of trauma to the testis, okay? And then there are other causes such as chronic illnesses. We have surgeries. We have medications.
Right.
Some of the prescription medications and so that are used. Mention things like antihypertensive medication, antipsychotic medication. We can talk about antidepressive depressants. We can talk about seizure medication, muscle relaxant, tranquilizers. All those sort of things can cause erectile dysfunction, right? But most importantly, we talk about the cardiovascular form of it. The physiological is quite important, depression and so. And the other illnesses, right? We also have one of the common things that you may find, very, very common in our society, is that you feel a little lightheaded. And the answer is always the blood low. Yes. And we engage in taking iron tablets that can cause something you call hemosiderosis, right? Which is also, too much iron in the blood can also cause erectile dysfunction. Right? So there are many things that we take for granted that can result in erectile dysfunction.
Right. So,
Right?
so Doc, based on what you're saying, if someone feels a little lightheaded, they should not just conclude that they blood low and go and buy iron tablet and so.
Well, that's a very, very common practice. Very common practice.
I know it's a common practice, but is it advisable to do that?
No, it's not advisable to do that. Because as I alluded to, iron overload in the body can cause disease condition, or it can cause what we call hemosiderosis, which is an affectation of the liver, right, as a result of iron overload. And you would find it very, very, very frequent that, you feel a little lightheaded, you go to the pharmacy and they give you some Trihemic or some IFA, and you take it for on specified number of time, not even knowing what your levels are. Right? Medicine is a science. Science is something that can be proven. In other words, lightheadedness doesn't necessarily mean, or dizziness doesn't necessarily mean, as we commonly refer to, doesn't necessarily mean that the blood is low. There are many other different causes that needs to be investigated and determined before we start off with those treatments.
Right, because there are other reasons why someone can feel lightheaded, yes?
Definitely. A simple thing like dehydration can result in lightheadedness. Yeah, a very common cause of lightheadedness is dehydration.
Right.
You may also have quite frequently the issue of sinus issues in terms of infections of the sinus, and so can also give you a bit of lightheadedness.
Right.
And not necessarily need iron treatment.
Right, but the issue of the low blood, when you hear that term, your blood low, just put it in the context for me.
Right, low blood, right, basically refers to the hemoglobin.
Okay.
Right, the hemoglobin levels. The major role of the hemoglobin is to carry oxygen and nutrients, right? So in terms of if the hemoglobin is low, it means that your oxygen carrying capacity would decrease, right? And that can result in that low sort of LOG level that you have.
So all right, I got you. Okay, so let's move along, because there are quite a couple other things that I want to raise, and I just want to stick a little bit on the erectile dysfunction a bit, because I know it can create problems for a lot of men. You mentioned things like aggression earlier on. I have heard of stories like that, where men have become aggressive because of that. How do you treat someone who is going through that? As a physician, someone comes to you, they say, "Doc, this is my problem. It is very difficult for me. I have all kind of thing, thinking about all kind of thing," because how do you, as a physician, treat someone in that condition?
Right. First of all, there must be a very honest and open conversation, right? In terms of sharing of information, because there are many different causes of erectile dysfunction. So that patient must first of all be willing to have that exchange, and as a physician, you want to create that environment where there is confidentiality and where the patient can really open up, so that the history could be sort of unbiased and sort of cover a total aspect where you can really get down to the bottom as to what is happening. After, based on the history, it can sort of guide you as to what other investigation or what other aspects, because erectile dysfunction, as we mentioned earlier, would also have a psychological component. It could be because of some past experience or whatever as it is. So based on what the information that you would have gathered, you can then determine what approach you're going to take. In terms of, we also have the aspect of erectile dysfunction being caused by hormonal levels, and we're referring specifically to things like testosterone. Low testosterone can result in erectile dysfunction, low sex drive, and all of those sort of things. So based on that approach, you want to determine what's your next step in terms of investigation, and so that you will take to determine exactly what's the underlying cause of the erectile dysfunction.
Right. Okay. Can things like STDs and STIs result in erectile dysfunction?
Yes, infections can cause erectile dysfunction. Right? And specifically, as you mentioned, STDs and other infections of the testis
can result in that.
Result in it.
Right. So,
and not only that, very important, I want to mention very importantly that men are generally asymptomatic for STDs or STIs. Generally, they are asymptomatic. In other words, they don't feel any effects, and they don't have any complaint. And that, as opposed to the women, they generally more frequently would have some sort of complaint. So you will find that there's a tendency that men would have that sort of infection for a longer period of time, and not until there is some manifestation of the infection that they may show up. Quite reluctantly, sometimes you attempt to treat the couple, because, for example, if the woman is or the partner has clinical manifestation, you would advocate for the couple to receive treatment. You may find that men are very reluctant to taking that treatment or completing that treatment, because they will tell you that nothing is happening with me.
Right.
Not understanding that it's called sexually transmitted disease, which means that once there is sexual encounter, there is a very strong probability, especially if it was done unprotected, that you would have gotten infected. So let's not wait until there is clinical manifestation, or still you start having problem with the pain in the testicles or something like that, or swelling in the testicles to decide that you're going to take some form of treatment. Right? It's very important that once the partner has clinical manifestation, that men, you should also be willing to accept and complete the treatment that can prevent. Very interesting, men, we pride on our manhood. And the things that we are mentioning here now are the things that are going to enable you or longevity of your manhood. Right. Very important. Very important. We're talking about conditions that are going to affect your ability to get an erection and your levels of performance and all of that. Right? So it's very important that we don't take those things for granted. But in terms of enjoying quality health, you got to invest in yourself.
But Doc, it can also have, a psychological effect on a man. For example, men tend to that kind of promiscuous behavior. And of course, you go out there, you pick something up, and then you have to go to the doctor to get yourself checked. But then, of course, the doctor would advocate, as you said, to treat both you and your partner, especially if it's a case where, let's say, you have a married couple. This gentleman, he probably doesn't want his wife to know about that, but in an effort to prevent the wife probably picking it up, she has to come, she has to know. It will interfere with the man's psyche. How do you play that role there to get him to lighten up and understand? Listen, this is a situation where look, you might have to bear that little shame a bit for the better good of both yourself and your wife?
Godfrey, that's a very interesting question, a very important question, right? Such neglect of such practice has dire consequences, meaning that STIs that go untreated can also have serious complication for the woman. STI is untreated STI is a very common cause of infertility, right? In other words, the tubes get blocked up because of carrying from infection. So these are things that you especially, I would always say to younger couples, the consequences later on could be very far-reaching. Right? If you don't deal with it now and you don't deal with it properly, you may have to live with this sense of regret for the rest of your life. Right? So it's important to understand what are the consequences of me not doing the right thing and how it can affect someone else's life. Right? It's postulated that one of the causes of prostate cancer also is infection.
Right.
So that is also important, not only from the woman's point of view, but also from the man point of view, that treatment should be sorted and not only be sorted, but also be completed.
Right. Because people generally have the tendency, and we're talking men, you go to see a physician for something, you get some medication, you start taking it, and maybe after a couple of days you start feeling okay, and you toss it aside.
That's right. And generally that is at the price of the next drink.
yes, because you can't take the drink while you're taking the medication.
While you're taking the medication, your health is your wealth. Right? At the end of the day, it's a very high sacrifice to make, to give up your health. There's dire consequences that would come as a result of ignoring those sort of conditions.
Right. Doc, someone just said here on my WhatsApp platform, you can drink Zeba Peak for prostate cancer.
Right. I haven't heavily invested in traditional medicine. So I would refuse to comment on that.
Well, yeah. I don't think you should.
I'm not an expert on that.
Right, definitely. So we coming up to another break in just a minute, but let's just quickly move on to another of the chronic conditions that are common in men as well, diabetes. And you mentioned earlier the obesity and all of that. And it's very common in a lot of men. The beer bellies and all of that and so.
Right. It's commonly referred to as what you may call metabolic disorders. Right, the diabetes and so, and diabetes create what you call a multi-system dysfunction. In other words, it affects many different parts of the body, right? The nerve, the blood vessels, the kidneys, and you may find that in terms of the nerve, that's one of the common cause of amputation also. Is one of the common cause of erectile dysfunction. Right? What you may find, people with diabetes, is commonly known that you step on a piece of glass or a piece of bottle, a stone gets into your shoes, and you don't know that would have happened maybe until you take off the shoes or maybe 2 weeks later when you realize that there is some problem with the foot. right? That's to the level of affectation that you can get from the nerve, right? So if it affects the nerve in that way, then you're going to have real problems in terms of not only amputation and so blindness. You're going to have other problems that in terms of erectile dysfunction, which is a very common diabetes is a common cause of erectile dysfunction in men. Uncontrolled diabetes, I should say.
Right.
I don't want to pronounce that as a life sentence.
Right.
I want men to know. I want men to know that if you look after your condition, you can live a normal life. So not because you have diabetes, you're going to write it off and say, well, I'm going to end up with erectile dysfunction. I'm going to end up with all those complications. I emphasize on controlled diabetes. If you refuse to look after it and take care after it, these are some of the consequences that you're going to encounter.
Right. So, Doc, let's take our final break. When we come back, we'll open our telephone line and then we touch maybe one or two more of those conditions before we close up for this evening. So stay with us. We take a final break and we come back to you in just a moment.
Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sanatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open, Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
Open borders with the right precautions will keep us safe and lead us to the successful rejuvenation of our tourist industry. Because when we come together as a country, we all win.
I did it for my co-workers.
I did it for my granny.
What's up? I did it for my neighbor.
I did it for my business.
Help us help Grenada.
I did it for myself and my family. Get vaccinated.
Together, we can defeat COVID-19. Get vaccinated.
And look, rhythm coconut, rum lemon, passion fruit, sorrel, even the exotic spice syrup.
Ah, the flavored rums of Grenada Distillers Limited.
Class codes?
Yes, girl. They are all produced by the Grenada Distillers Limited in Woodlands. You know, all their rums are world-class and internationally acclaimed, winners of numerous gold medals.
I'll have the spicy rum and
Grenada's #1 rum. We drink it on sport. Add a little flavor to your life.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs. So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Carenage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Carenage, St. George's. Hills and Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sanatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open, Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
Meet Jaron Lessie, head stylist at Imperial Cuts Barbershop. Jaron uses air conditioning daily to keep his clients cool and comfortable. But the high cost of electricity was taking his overheads through the roof.
My monthly light bill was over $1,200.
He had to find a way to bring the bill down. He made the switch to a Mitsubishi electric air conditioning unit. There was an instant reduction in energy consumption and cost.
My monthly average bill is now just $400.
It was just the most energy efficient AC on the market, delivering huge savings.
My Mitsubishi beat the heat, not your wallet.
Local agent, Total Engineering, Grandin St. George. Telephone number 435-1004.
Welcome back, folks. It's Dr. and Cole. And our telephone number is 435-2041. We'll be taking your calls, your questions, and so remember the number 435-2041. Doc, I was reading today while I was doing a little preparation for the program, and I came across something. It went like whether it is myth or whether it is a fact. Men's menopause. Is there anything like this?
Right. What I do know is that in terms of men, what happens is that from the age of around 30 or so, you find that the level of testosterone start decreasing in men.
Okay.
Right. So from age 30, the level of testosterone decreases about 1% per year.
Okay.
So as you grow older, what you find is that your testosterone level drops pretty much, which is more or less comparable to what happens in women when they reach that menopausal age. You know, most times they say around 40 or so that hormones start decreasing. Okay, so in men, you also have that decrease in the hormone you call testosterone, 1% per year on average. It starts from around the age of 30.
Right.
And it's very important that as men, we understand that, because low testosterone level can have many different confusing and very different clinical manifestations, right? Basically, it can affect things like sexual functions of sexual features. We know testosterone levels is responsible for in men from a very early age for things like the onset of puberty, the development of muscle mass, the voice, and all of that. okay, the growth of the bones in terms of the extremities and so, bone density, and for general well-being. Also is very important in men's sexual function, right? And we'll find that there are many different causes besides age of low testosterone levels, or that can cause decreased testosterone levels. And we talk about things like injury to the testes. We talk about chemotherapy, people that have cancer treatment and so. We talk about the metabolic disorders earlier on, like the diabetes and so on. We also can talk about medications,
right,
which we mentioned, things like opioids and other steroids and so, that can cause low testosterone level. We also talk about illnesses, like chronic illnesses, we mentioned that, and we can talk about alcohol abuse. All right. Alcohol abuse causes what you call, produce something you call endorphins that gives you that nice feeling, but ultimately result in the decreased synthesis of testosterone.
Right.
Right. Alcohol also trigger off a stress hormone we call cortisol that causes the decreased synthesis of testosterone also. Right. And sometimes, patient present and you take certain things for granted, but there are different clinical manifestations of low testosterone in patients. And one of them, like low sex drive, we also have erectile dysfunction can be caused by that, as we mentioned. Decreased sense of wellness or well-being. We have things like depression, mood. We have difficulty concentrating and memory loss. Can also be a result of low testosterone level.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, muscle fatigue and so. Moodiness and irritability can also be a cause of that. Loss of muscle strength. And very interesting too, as we mentioned earlier, anemia can be caused by low testosterone level.
Interesting.
Right? And I'm saying that to say because remember we talked about earlier that you go and you get some iron medication.
Yes.
What's the cause of it? Or you may find that there might be some one-stop shop that sells, erectile dysfunction treatment without determining what's the underlying cause of it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's very important that we not only deal with the problem, but we need to get down to the bottom as to what
understand the cause of the problem.
Of the problem, right? So erectile low testosterone level may also cause things like decreased body hair, and very importantly, a disease we call osteoporosis, which is the decreased density of the bones in men. Right? It can result in brittle bones or fractures, bones that can fracture very easily. And increased body fat. Right? Increased body fat can cause decrease
testosterone as well.
Body fat.
Okay.
And also result in men developing breast and so. So it's a very important aspect in terms of men's health as you go along with the decrease in the testosterone levels, that we pay attention to those sort of manifestations.
Right.
Don't just sit and take them for granted, because these things, some of them could be treated.
Right. And I guess, Doc, if you, based on what you're saying, if you understand it well, wouldn't it put you in a better position to deal with it?
Well, definitely, right? If you understand it well and you know exactly what you're dealing with, then you get down to the root cause of it, right? So sometimes, as I said prior, the history and the laboratory investigation can resolve a lot of those problems.
Nice.
Not showing up is not an option. Not showing up does not resolve anything. Right? So men, we can come forward, we can feel confident that something is always possible, right? There's always a possibility that we can get down to the root cause of what we're encountering, and know as we go up in age that there is a decline in the level of testosterone that can lead to the manifestation of the many things that we talk about.
Well, Doc, I think I have a solution for that, as it relates to the age and testosterone, I think I would skip a couple birthdays. That way my age if I skip a couple birthdays, my age should remain constant. So then that testosterone should remain there as well, right? Or it doesn't work that way.
We never know the effect of the psychological aspect of it.
Well, because placebos work sometimes, So yeah, you never know. You never know. But that's very interesting, and I think I would definitely like maybe at some point we can do some more discussion on the whole level of this testosterone, because I have a feeling a lot of people, or a lot of us men, probably don't understand that, and sometimes we probably stress ourselves and act in ways that we shouldn't, not understanding that this is just natural progression of life, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing you can do about it. Nobody can do you, nobody can spoil you, nobody can do you. It's just the normal scheme of things.
Right, and just to add to that, one of the things that we have that we would recommend to increase testosterone production level is exercise.
Right. Okay.
Exercise. So in order to counteract that decline that we talk about, that 1% decline, exercise can increase our testosterone level. It means that we have to make that conscious effort if we want to maintain functions and so. Right. So it's important that men get involved in different exercise programs and so. Plus the diet. We talk about things like alcohol and so that can slow down the natural progression that we talk about.
Right, and of course smoking doesn't help either.
Right, smoking, it's a bit of a controversial theory that they say that initially it does increase testosterone level, but there is the decline is more steady than in non-smokers.
Okay.
It's not that we advocate smoking to increase testosterone level, because the consequences of smoking are much greater than beyond.
Well, definitely so. Yes. Yeah.
So I just want to emphasize that even though that has been proven, but the consequences are much.
You weigh the risk. If the risk is greater, then you don't go there.
You don't go there.
Don't go there. Doc, let's go. Let's go to the telephone. It's been going for a while. Let's take a call. Doctor and call. Good evening.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
I've a few points in any case to the doctor in any case, But as positive cancer in any case, I understand that flaxseed oil is very good. Wheatgerm oil, zinc, golden seal, dandelion, ginger is good. Garlic oil, parsley, a few sunflower seeds, a few of them things in any case, I even made a book at once upon a time that the Adventist had a book called the Modern Health Guide. And the book tells you that they could use hot water, a boiling tank, and if your body could bear the heat for a while, it could melt the prostate cancer in you. I read that in a book, a modern guide book, Adventist book in any case, show all them things in any case, But you have things, even concern the disease between the man and the woman. What about if the woman gets pregnant with a baby inside? That child could be born infected with the virus you have in her still, and get blind, could become blind in any case, Doc. I think that could bounce up in any case,
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. I don't know about some of the things, so Doc, I don't know if you want to comment on that, but the telephone number, folks, 43520. Let's go back to the telephone. We do have a caller. Doctor and call. Good evening.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Question here. Just like how someone take insulin is it possible they can take like testosterone?
Okay, thank you, caller. We'll take it. Doc, they would like to know, you had the question, yes?
Yes.
Right,
Yes, there are different ways of administering testosterone. You have the testosterone injections that can be administered every 10 to 14 days. You have the testosterone patch, you have the gel, and you also have what you call pellets that can be implanted in the skin. Right, so there are different types of treatment in terms of increasing your testosterone level. That could be done. That's quite possible.
Okay, wonderful. Let's go back to the telephone. Dr. and Cole, good evening.
Good night.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Very good.
Good evening, Doc. I just want to know, like if a man go with a woman and the woman has a disease, right? If that has any effect, on the man getting on erectile dysfunction, you know? Yeah. So if I just want to know if that is possible. Then. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Doc.
Right. Thank you for the question, caller. Yeah, that is quite possible. Right. As we mentioned earlier on, infections can cause low testosterone level, which ultimately can cause reduced libido or reduced sexual function.
Okay, wonderful. 435-2041, that's the number you can call. If you have questions or anything you can ask. Dr. and Cole, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Yeah, I just want to find from the doctor. If you're locked up, you're locked up for a year and you don't get nobody, how often do you masturbate?
Doc, did you hear that question?
No, I didn't. Did you kind of?
He's saying if you, for example, if you're a prisoner and you have not been involved in intercourse, he's asking whether or not, as it relates to masturbation, how often you should.
How often you should masturbate?
Yeah. Making specific reference to, let's say, being incarcerated and not, for example, not being involved in sexual intercourse. I'm getting the feeling that he wants to know if that's an option, and if it is, then how often?
There is no regime as it relates to how often one should or shouldn't involve in masturbation. However, and I want to clear up also, there are a lot of myths surrounding masturbation and how it can affect an individual also. As from medical point of view, there is no effect on the level of testosterone. There is no effect on any other known organs or so, which means that if there is no danger to any of the organs or so, then I would say that one can involve in it as much as it pleasures, they derive pleasure from it.
Up to the individual.
Right. There's no major effect of masturbation on the body.
Okay, wonderful indeed. So, caller, I trust that that answers your question. 435-2041. That's the number you can call. We do have time for at least about two more questions, or two more calls. So, if we get them, we would go with them. If not, Doc, just quickly, I wanted to just. There was right. Okay, we did speak on prostate, which is one of the major thing with men. Other cancers briefly that are common in men. Can we just briefly mention them quickly?
Right. We can talk about lung cancer. Bowel cancer. We talk about colon cancer. Pancreatic cancer. Right. Also, we can talk about brain tumors. Right. And brain tumor also has a direct relation with other aspects of men's health, as we know, like tumor of the pituitary gland, that the different hormones and so that can affect, the different functions in men and so.
Okay, wonderful.
And quite commonly, you will find that lung cancer is pretty common in men, and it has a strong association with smoking.
Smoking, right. Mm-hmm.
With a recreational,
Smoking and so. All right. Our telephone line is going again. Let's take that last call. Doctor and call, good evening.
Yeah, good afternoon, Doc.
Yes, go ahead, please, caller.
Okay. The PC muscle. You are aware of the PC muscle? Doc?
Yes, go ahead, caller, with your contribution.
Okay. One of my questions. Are you aware of the PC muscle? Because the PC muscle is one of the muscles that men need to strengthen. And it's certain exercise you need to do that. Now, the next thing, one guy asked about masturbation. Masturbation leads to premature ejaculation. So yes, there is effect on people doing masturbation. It leads to premature ejaculation. If people study sexology and things, they will tell you about that. It have an effect on that. But the PC muscle is something most men don't know about. And that is one of the main problems besides the testosterone after 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Doc, you wish to comment on this?
I didn't get much of the questions.
He was trying to, asking if you are aware of the PC muscle, whatever it is. So I am not sure, the source of his information. We seem to have just lost Doc there for a minute, and I hope it's not a little issue with our internet. Let's hope we can get him back. But it's just about 4 minutes onto the hour of 10 o'clock, and folks, we've been talking a bit about men's health, and Doc did make mention of a couple of the very common issues that men encounter. Of course, one of the major ones that came to the fore had to do with prostate. We seem to have lost Doc there. Yes, he mentioned prostate. We spoke a bit about that. He also made mention of some of the cardiovascular conditions that affect men, and of course some of the chronic conditions like diabetes and all of that, obesity, and of course erectile dysfunction, which I'm sure is of concern to many men. He did say also, very importantly, that one of the ways to increase your testosterone levels is to exercise. So good exercise will help with that. Also, it is important to understand the reason for it, and don't just go to a one-stop shop and just go getting things. It's not recommended. It is also recommended to visit your physician, your family doctor. Have a nice talk with the doctor. Be truthful. Let all the information come out. Your family history is also very important. That way, the doctor will better understand how to treat you, and of course give you the best treatment that is possible. So those are some other things that came out this evening. I want to encourage men to take your health seriously. Do your screening for your prostate and all of that. It is important. We have a tendency as men to, as Doc said, you hear a lot, I don't like doctor, meaning they don't like to go to doctors, but it is important that you do, because if you don't, you won't understand what is happening with you, and if you don't understand what is happening to you, you will not be able to get the help that you need to keep you living a normal life. So please, menfolk, visit your doctor and do your screening. I have to apologize for Doc. There was an issue there with the internet. We lost the connection, and so I apologize on his behalf that he's not able to do his wrap up. But definitely we will have him back on the program. If you need to visit Dr. Francis, he's in St. David, right next to the St. David's police station. You can visit him there and have a talk with him on whatever your issue is. So we thank you folks for staying with us on Doctor in Call. It's always a pleasure to be here and to engage our medical professionals in providing you with information that can help with better health for each and every one of us. So thank you once again. Do have a good night. Don't forget you can join me tomorrow evening for our Wednesday evening edition of Release It. We have a lot to talk about tomorrow. One of the issues that will come up in the program tomorrow has to do with the sex crimes that we are experiencing. Only today I heard of an incident in St. Andrew where one man got chopped as a result of something like that. We don't know for certain, but we hope that we can get some sort of confirmation from the police as to what actually happened. So join us tomorrow for Release It at 8 o'clock. Until then, do enjoy the rest of the evening and have a good night. Thank you very much. All the best.